entrepreneurs or leaders listening, how did you build the culture to the staff and employees? Obviously, as you grow and scale, it's about putting the right people in place.
Sure.
You can't be there. But what tips would you give entrepreneurs out there who are looking to build a culture for their organization, their company, their business? How do you create a culture like that and transcend it to where people want to stay?
Good question. Be a culture of heart. How would you like to be treated if you could be treated? I worked for companies where the guy said, do it this way. Well, why? Just do it. Well, that's not how you manage people. You work with them. I can remember times I worked for others where things were really good in my life and maybe had $1 for lunch. You couldn't buy very much for $1. So no problem. The minute we could afford it, everyone that worked at Paul Mitchell gets free lunch. They still do. And they order off menus, and they still do. Wow. They still do. Okay, so you look at what people need, what people want. Profit sharing, healthcare, we provide all of that for our people. So they're happy they could grow. They have a savings account that we participate in with profit sharing. We make people happy. We grow together because we look at what would they like? How can we treat them? We had a good year. Let's give some bonuses out.
Mm-hmm. And I think what you're saying really is, how would you want to be treated?
Exactly.
If you were them, how would you want your employer to treat you? And you just sort of reverse engineer and line that up.
And by example, like we're very giving. We do something, we must turn down every month many, many requests because we do too many. I think by last count, they said, JP, you've given to 167 different causes. Stop. We don't have the time, the energy, okay, so we slow down a little bit here on doing that. Yeah. But we keep on giving. Now, our staff feels it. They love being part of giving, okay? So one day I came here last year and everyone was gone but the receptionist. Where did everybody go this afternoon? Oh, JP, they all volunteered to go down to, this was the California office, to go down to Santa Monica and clean up the beaches. I said, wow, that's great. They say they do it all the time. They volunteer to do it because it's the thing to do. Now, I'm not at that office very much. Maybe once every 3 weeks, I'll come to California and come in for a day or two and shake hands, do a little bit of public relations. But they're doing it without me being here watching. Didn't even know about it. That's beautiful. Our schools, this is the greatest example.
Oh, the Paul Mitchell schools.
We have in the United States now over 100, maybe close to 120 Paul Mitchell schools. Part of our curriculum is giving back. Our schools participate in fundraisers, and they raise a lot of money. We have raised today in the last 15 years millions of dollars. I think the average is maybe a couple million a year at least. These are students. Half the money stays in the local community. The other half goes to great causes for the United States and other parts of the world. So they learn while they're in school. Joyous things like a car wash to raise money, a cut-a-thon. They come up with all kinds of ways. Yeah. Every dime they raise goes to the charity. Every dime they raise to our Paul Mitchell School charities. We, the school department, underwrite the entire charity. So every dime it costs to run it, operate it, administer it is either done by volunteers or we pay for it. Every dime goes to it. So they learn as part of the curriculum the joy of giving back. Will some of these children ever meet the survivors, these little children whose parents have died of AIDS, ages 1 day to 12 years old in Africa, that people wanted to throw away, that we saved their lives and educate them, give them a place to live? No, but they know they did something for somebody else, asking nothing in return, and how good it feels. That's our Paul Mitchell School culture, and boy, does it work, and it makes people better off. Sometimes children or adult children can talk to their parent where they haven't talked to their parent in many years. They learn how to communicate. It's all about giving back and loving one another and just being selfish for yourself and not caring about the other person thinks. It's part of the culture we teach in our schools and, of course, with our company.
That's beautiful. And it seems like you were always like that, because even when you didn't have money, I read something, I think it was an article where you said even when you didn't have money, that you would still give a dime if you had it. If you wouldn't give a dime out of $1, you're not going to do it when I'm a billionaire or when I'm rich, I'll give.
At Christmas time, and that's also in good fortune, how my mom, we had nothing. We gave a dime to the Salvation Army and why we did and what mom said. And that always stuck with me. Even my days when I used to ride with the Satan slaves and the Hells Angels when I was in California.
You were a rebel, weren't you, JP?
Well, let's just say it was a different times.
Free-spirited.
It's different times. Yeah. Okay, I used to ride with them.
Were you free-spirited in the 60s?
Cool. I was just, let's just say I went through the 60s for whatever I did. Okay. But even during those times, I would go to Griffith Park, and they would have feed-ins at Thanksgiving and at Christmas time, where I would just go there and want to volunteer to be on the line to serve people food for Thanksgiving or Christmas. And there were lines of people, going all over the park, but we would serve them free food and made me feel good I did something to give back.
Absolutely. And we actually have an event We have these Passion Pay shirts where we actually, for every shirt purchase, we donate a meal and a shirt to the homeless in need for the holidays. Yeah.
Great.
So we're very aligned with you in that one. I want to ask a couple last questions here before we wrap up. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs watching, and a lot of them are sitting here wondering, like, what was JP's mindset? What was his motivation? So I want to ask, obviously you wanted to create a great product, a reorderable product, serve people, help the world. But how much of it was, I want to make a lot of money? I mean, even if that was a parallel motivation, was that in there or not really? Was that kind of a byproduct? I mean, obviously it was important, but did you have the aspiration for hundreds of millions or billions? Or was that not really the dialogue? What was inside your head?
Absolutely not. The whole thing is, if we could only do $5 million a year, Paul, we make $250,000 each, we're set for life. And then as the company grew, then we realized, hey, not only could the company grow, but we could actually do things like maybe buy a nice house one day, maybe buy a new car. I never owned a new car in my life until 1985, and we started Paul Mitchell in 1980. It was the first time I had enough money and felt confident enough to actually buy my first new car. It was like, yay, I bought a new car. What was your America works.
What was your first splurge?
A new car. My first splurge was a new car. I bought a new car.
Sports car?
No, it was a sedan, but it was a new one. It was a Mercedes. And I just felt like on top of the world. Like Janis Joplin had a song, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz?" You know.
Yeah, and you're just playing the music loud, finally living the American dream. So
that was great. Well, the American dream to me is to be happy, have the opportunity, whether you're working for someone else or whether you start your own business, to be happy and be able to have enough money to buy yourself a house and live okay. That's the American dream. And have a shot at having a big business or little business on your own and making some money for a better life for your family. That's a dream, to keep on going up, having that opportunity. That dream is still alive. Today, inflation is not 12.5%.
Right.
Unemployment is not 10.5%. Interest rates are not 17%, lowest interest rate. And our employment today, my God, is less than 4%, you know? So they have a better opportunity today to be able to start a business than ever before, and you have the internet. In my day, you didn't. And we had telephones we would dial or push the button on. We didn't have all cell phones. The cell phones were this big, if you could afford one. I think when we were 4 or 5 years in business, I bought one of those big ones.
So when you see the generation now, you think, man, you guys have so many tools. You have no excuse to not get moving,
none
right?
whatsoever, sure, no.
So, okay, when you see entrepreneurs now, what do you think most of them are doing ineffectively? Because I'm sure at this level, you've dealt with many CEOs who do really well. You've seen people crash and burn. What do you notice are patterns of executives or leaders who build companies that actually work? Does it speak just to what you've already said about quality products, putting people first? I mean, what is the common denominator among companies and leaders that succeed versus those who constantly fail?
It's all that you said, but I would throw in their rejection. And it's only human nature. When people keep rejecting your friends, your family, this is not going to work, you shouldn't be doing this, do something else. No, the person doesn't want to buy it. If you know your product or your service is the best you could possibly do, and you will overcome rejection, you're going to have a heck of a good chance of making it. Having that positive attitude of drive. Look at Fred Smith, Federal Express. Several times he was turned down. He just kept on going for it. Now it's just a huge company. But there are many companies like that, to give you an example. Many. You got to stick with what you believe in. Some are going to make it and some won't. I've started other entrepreneur jobs along the way, or businesses that just didn't make it, but you learn.
Yeah, and of course, we only hear about the successes.
That's correct.
We only hear about the Paul Mitchells and the Patrons.
That's correct.
So, okay, quick question. What's the worst advice you've ever gotten in your career?
Oh, I got a lot of bad advice, Mike. I couldn't tell you the worst because there were probably several worse suggestions, like, oh, put some money in that, and it just didn't work out. There were several on the way. I couldn't pick out any one as the worst one, but there's several. We all get several things. We make a decision, and oh my God, I was given advice and that was wrong. All you do is learn from it. Try not to make that same mistake again. And if you make it a second time, shame on you. Make sure there's never a third.
What's the best advice that you would give somebody else looking to build a big business, build a meaningful business, impact the world? What would be, John Paul, looking back on your years, what would be your best advice to people out there looking to make their life work?
A combination of make your product or service the best it is, so you can be in the reorder business, not in the order business. Number two, don't give up. Be prepared for a lot of rejection. And then remember, Successful people do all the things unsuccessful people don't want to do, like work from morning till night, work on the weekends, not give up. And the most important thing is, as you grow, remember this: success unshared is failure. You want to be happy in your life and take care of your people.